Today's episode is a really awesome full circle episode for me. I'm sitting down with my OG business coach and now good friend and client, Eryn Morgan. She is the coach who helped me go from side hustling to running a real sustainable design studio. We're going to cover how to choose the right coach, what a coach actually can and should do for you, a little bit of the behind the scenes of my work with Eryn and how she helped me get to where I am today. And then Eryn is also going to share a pretty raw and real look at what business has been like for her over the last 10 years of ups and downs and getting in and out of the online business industry and how that has gotten her to where she is now. If you are a designer or creative who is really craving that consistency in your business in a way that is not going to burn you out, this episode is packed with good nuggets for you. And if you are considering hiring a coach, then pull up a chair and listen in. Welcome to the Six Figure Brand Podcast, where each week we're pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to build a six-figure business as an online service provider. I'm your host, Morgan. I'm a branding expert, online agency owner, mom of two, and military spouse, and I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurs like you understand the ins and outs of branding so that you can use it to grow your business without sacrificing your sanity. Whether you're just starting out or focused on scaling, we're diving into everything you need to build a profitable and sustainable online business. Let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode of the Six Figure Brand Podcast. I am so excited to have the one and only Eryn Morgan here. If you have listened to the podcast in the past, we could probably make a drinking game out of how many times I've said, I learned this from my coach, Eryn. So Eryn, welcome. Thank you for being here. Give us like a 30-second intro of who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Oh my gosh. I've never been a drinking game before, so I'm like into this, right? I've been on people's vision boards before. That's what I've had. Working with you is on my vision board, but this is fun. I am so thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I am Eryn Morgan, and I am a business coach for designers. I work with website, brand, and graphic designers, regardless of platform, to help them to scale into the next version of the business leader that I know they are. And that they want to be. So often my clients are very established. They are team curious, or maybe they have a team member already, and they're asking big questions like, what additional layers of revenue do I want to add into my business? Or, am I looking to create an agency? What those bigger questions once they've gotten past those initial stages of being in business for themselves. So totally excited to have our conversation today. Don't know where we'll go, and that is part of the fun of it.
Yeah. So I owe a lot to Eryn. I would not be sitting here recording this podcast if it weren't for her. We met in, I think, 2017. So we've been in each other's lives for a long time. We've seen each other through a lot of life and business transitions.
Yes, we have.
And I still have a very clear picture in my head of like how I found you and our first conversation, but I kind of want to hear it from your perspective so that anyone listening can have an opportunity to be like, oh, that sounds like me. Maybe I need a coach too.
Yes. Okay. So what I remember so clearly about you is that you were in a place where you were side hustling your design business on the weekends, in the mornings and the evenings before and after your workday. And you were using your car commute as sort of a moving learning lab where you were listening to podcasts and starting to really learn. And I think that the phrase that I remember is you had made, a little bit of money, and you started to look around and go, wait a second, I might actually have a business. This might be more than a side hustle. And you also had this desire, I know, to leave your 9-to-5, even though it was in your field, it just wasn't the kind of core value company that you wanted to continue working for. So I feel like you reached out to people in a Facebook group maybe and said, like, does anybody know a business coach? And I think you even thought that you needed help with marketing. Am I getting all this right?
Yeah, no, you're spot on so far.
Yeah. And the best part of our first conversation is that we both had a love of potatoes, and we had quite a conversation around our mutual love for all the different ways that the humble potato could be made into something delicious. And so the thing that struck me and that encouraged me at the time from our conversation, we talked the first time I shared with you how I work, and you had somebody else that you were also talking with. You were interviewing somebody else, and you came back at the end and said, you're more expensive, but your sales call was better. And I loved that. And I will never forget that, because that's one of the things where I really pride myself on taking my time, listening to the people who have entrusted me with the story of where they are in their business. It can be a vulnerable place. And so that was a huge honor that you chose me for that reason.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how I remember it. And yeah, I really Cliff's Notes version is started freelancing because I had some extra time now that I had this new job that wasn't completely sucking the soul out of me. And then I was like, oh shoot, I made 12 grand. Maybe this is a thing, and didn't really know what to do after that.
Yeah.
You are correct. I got on Facebook. That was when Facebook groups were a big thing. And the gist of the post was, I need help marketing my business. And then I interviewed a few marketing people, and a lot of them were like, I can't help you, or I just got weird. It just wasn't going anywhere. And finally, somebody was like, hey, I own a design business too. It sounds like you need a coach. Reach out to Eryn. And then the rest is kind of history. I remember we had our sales call while I was driving home from work, and you were cooking dinner because we're in different time zones. And this is something I want to talk about, and I'm just going to let them right out and say it. I was and am still partially in the camp that business coaching is kind of a scam a lot of the time. So
Yep.
Can you maybe help us understand how to know if somebody's going to actually change your life in the way that you changed mine, or if they're just going to take your money and run?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a really important question, because one of the things that has eroded over the last several years is trust in this industry specifically. So I'm up against this on pretty much every conversation I have, is this idea that, and I'll be as clear in answering as you were in asking. There are a lot of people who wanted to be life coaches, and they couldn't figure out how to get ROI for their people. And they realized that if they decided to work as a business coach, that then the people would make money and they would be able to help them see ROI. And that's just the straight fact. If you actually ask these business coaches, what kind of success have you had in your business, in growing and building your business? Or do you have any business experience before this? If they answer honestly, the answer is no. They didn't have business experience before this. They had a job, and there's nothing wrong with that. But one of the things that I believe at the core is that you should have had at least some success in business and some level of business experience in order to be able to be a business coach. Do I have my MBA? No. But if I went deep back into my experience of all the things that I have done that are business related, business adjacent, or in my actual experience as the director of marketing, which is why you hired me in the first place, because I had marketing experience, I can give you unbelievably specific things that I have done in terms of revenue generated, meetings that I've been able to take with high-level investors. I mean, I know a lot about angel investing. I know a lot about venture capital. These aren't things that you as a designer needed me to know, but the fact that I did had broadened out my experience in a way that I actually know what I'm talking about. And so I think when you are, and this is a huge pet peeve of mine, because I actually had a real live conversation last Friday with a gal who told me that she has a business coach. And I almost want to put it in quotes, because then I asked her about her offers. What are her offers? She's been in business for 15 years and she still doesn't have offers that she knows confidently will sell to her ideal clients. And the first thing I wanted to say to her is, you should fire your business coach, because if your coach can't help you design your offers, price them appropriately, figure out who your people are in order to go and sell them, and actually make sales and close projects, they're not a business coach. They're a life coach with a fancy title. And I think life coaches and mindset, I think they do amazing work. I hire them, but I pick the ones who have deep experience and have done more in their business specifically and growing their mindset coaching business or growing their life coaching business, so that there's actually some backbone there that tells me that they know a thing or two about a thing or two.
Is your brand feeling a little off? Your visuals, messaging, and your overall vibe just are not lining up with where your business is headed? You probably don't need another pretty logo. You actually need a solid strategy behind your brand. That's exactly what we'll build together inside the Standout Brand Strategy session, a one-on-one deep dive into your brand foundation so that you can finally show up with clarity, consistency, and confidence. And if you're thinking about working with Specht & Co. on branding or web design, this is your first step for every single project that we do together. Clients who have gone through this process have tripled their audience size, doubled their revenue, and raised their rates by 30% or more. Use the link in the show notes to book your session, and don't forget to enter code SFBPOD at checkout to save $100. Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and I think I have mentioned this in one way or another on every interview episode of the podcast we've done, that if you're looking to hire somebody in insert the name industry, whatever, if it's coaching, if it's for ads, if it's copywriting, the last person I talked to was a Kajabi specialist, ask them about the results they've gotten for their clients. I feel like for some reason we get in our head that it's not okay to ask those specific of questions, or we're going to make them feel uncomfortable or whatever. But in my case, when I hired you, I was paying you almost all of the money that I was making. So I'm not going to just do that blindly. Like, I need some kind of assurances that it's a good investment. And I remember so clearly you telling me, well, I understand how you're feeling, and you were very validating, and I appreciated that. And you straight up told me, if in 6 months you are not making more money, like this isn't profitable, then stop working with me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. It's fine. Yeah. And that was enough for me to be like, okay, because I know that I'm the person that gets into an arrangement like that with somebody. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. So I'm just going to keep paying them, even though I don't really want this service anymore. So that's something I really appreciated about you.
Yeah. And I think that there are also lots of business coaches of different stripes. So let me explain where I go with that. I specifically work with designers and creatives who have project-based business models. Now, recurring revenue is the holy grail. If we can find a way to add recurring revenue layers into a largely project-based business, well, yay. And that is where so many people start. They think, I want recurring revenue. But what we need to do if you are a project-based designer is we need to help you get consistent projects, smooth that revenue out in a way that starts to give you recurring income via your project-based business. There are a lot of business coaches who are great at helping you sell a group program. And unless you are a coach or somebody who naturally wants to work in a group setting with your business, that doesn't help you. People who are in e-com, people who do products, like, that's a whole different animal. If somebody who had a product-based business came to me and said, can you be my business coach? I would tell them, no, I can't get you results. I don't know enough about that industry in order to ensure that the work we do together is going to pay off for you. And so that's another really key piece of making sure that the person that you decide to hire actually understands your business model and the unique challenges that are related to it. And when they do, you have a better than average chance of being able to get that support that you need.
Yeah. And I want to circle back real quick to, you sort of touched on like the things that a coach should be helping you with. I mean, I've had people ask me that. I've recommend for all of my friends to hire you that have design businesses. And then the first thing they say is like, well, what did she do for you? And it's very hard for me not to answer like literally everything. But I think that the big things were solidifying my offers and pricing.
Yes.
Some ideal client stuff, but I think you were also really great about like giving me space to kind of let that evolve. I have strong opinions about people trying to like nail down their ideal client too early. And I think that was something that I really needed to just work with all the people and kind of let it evolve naturally. And it did. And that was great. But I think the biggest, I'll say two, but they're kind of intertwined, things that you imparted upon me that still show up for me every day are, one, learning how to trust myself is the biggest one.
Absolutely.
And two is sales. And I think that the way that you teach sales is very different than the way that most people teach sales. So what the top three things that if you're hiring a business coach, you should be looking for them to do for you or support you in?
Yes. Okay. So yes, I love that you mentioned trust, because here is one of the things that is so not sexy. And if I put this on a billboard, people would not hire me. But I teach women how to make great decisions and how to trust themselves and their instincts. People are not going to come to me and go, I want to learn how to trust myself. Here's all my money. That's not how this works. And I get it. But number one, and most importantly, thing that I hear from all of my former clients is you're still the voice in my head telling me to trust myself. If I think that this is giving me weird vibes, I'm getting red flags on this discovery call, the answer is you don't have to work with this person. It could turn into a nightmare project. And if your instincts are telling you it will, you're probably right. So that's the first thing. And so it is at the core foundation of everything I do is to help you build your confidence and build your internal trust in yourself. And the way we do that is through action. So that's the second thing we need. We need to make sure that you have a clear understanding of your path to revenue. If you do not have money coming in, if you do not have revenue coming into your business, you do not have a business, you have an expensive hobby. And I'm not in the business of coaching people with expensive hobbies. I want you to have a business. So while I am not in yes, we are all heart-centered, we want to make an impact, we want to help people. Yes, all of that is true. I'm not discounting it, but we've got to have a path for revenue. So that means crystal clear offers that you know how to sell that are priced appropriately so that you are able to confidently get onto a discovery call and lay out the way that you work with a client and they can say yes to you and you can bring in revenue. So if your business coach that you're speaking to doesn't know how to help you see a very clear path to revenue, that is the number two thing that you need to make sure you know. And yes, sales is a critically important piece of this. And a lot of my gals are very introverted. They feel icky with sales. There's a whole lot going on around this idea of ethical selling. Okay, so here's the deal. If you are going to make somebody an offer, they are going to say yes to you and pay you money. And then you do the things you sold to them. You do the things you say you're going to do. You deliver the project. You get them the results that you offered them in that discovery call. Then you are in an ethical space. The way that you're not ethical is if you take their money and don't complete their project and stop returning their phone calls and emails. That's called sleazy slime bag. And there are people out there that do it. And what I always say is what sets my clients apart is that we do not do business that way. That is not how we operate. So I like to teach you how to sell in a way that feels good, that feels natural to you, and that doesn't have you crawling out of your skin, feeling like, how dare I charge this much? Some people are like, raise your prices. I don't start there. I start with, where are your prices right now? How do you feel about them? What would you like to change about the way you work? How you offer these services? And then we can ask some of the questions that we need to arrive at whether that pricing is a good match for you right now or whether we want to tweak it. And there are times where we actually add offers that are lower priced or add offers that are higher priced in addition to. So this is all the initial and we'll talk about this, I know, at some point, but offers, sales, marketing, and how you show up as the CEO of your business, those are the core things that your coach needs to be able to help you with. And they're going to have different flavors and different ways of going about it. Maybe they have a signature process or a proprietary method, but those are things where I always say, be mindful of the fact that that signature process or method needs to match your business model. Because if it's not for project-based designers, then you're going to struggle to fit your business into their model.
Yeah. I think, no surprise. That's such great advice. And we could go on and on about this all day, but I want to switch gears and talk about your business and your story a little bit. So you started out in the marketing side of the academia world. Then you started your business a couple years before we met, had a very robust coaching business for many years. And then you kind of took a little step back. So talk us through that. And then we'll get into what it looked like coming back to work and your rebrand that we worked on together and all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So I had a lot of life stuff happen. COVID was a really challenging time for me because at the time that it initially kind of kicked off here in the US, I had 36 clients. And all of them had one-on-one access to me. And so I was taking all of the fears, emotions, challenges, pain of all of my people in my ear via my Voxer through that entire initial phase. And it really broke me. I was not emotionally ready to carry that. And so what I had to choose to do at the time, by the grace of the EIDL alone go I, but I slowly, carefully ended contracts at term. So I maintained the support for everybody in my containers. But then as they came up for renewal, I declined to renew. Not because they weren't amazing and they weren't people I just adore and still do in many cases, but I just didn't have it in me. And so because I couldn't not earn money, it was not optional. I took a bunch of what I would call embedded projects. I got myself embedded into companies that were paying me 5-figure a month retainer salary kind of situations where it was awful. And I really, really didn't like it. And I learned so much about business operations, about leadership, about how to lead a team, how to hire. During that time, I also got my Colby certification. So I thought perhaps that would be a place where I could start to come in the door of being a Colby certified business consultant and serve clients from that angle. And so, but all these projects, I don't name names. I don't want to share the companies that I worked for because they were all train wrecks. And I don't know where they stand today. Maybe their businesses are in great shape, but I'm not going to throw shade at this point. But what this was for me, it was a huge learning experience of what do I actually want to do? Because I was too young to retire. I wasn't independently wealthy. So I knew I had to come up with something. And that wasn't sustainable for me either. So I moved to Florida in 2023, a place that I didn't really ever think I would live, mostly because I was so in a low place. I was so depressed living in the woods of Pennsylvania. I started asking myself, well, why does it matter if I change my sweatpants today? Because nobody's going to see me and I'm just going to sit on the couch and do this terrible work that I don't want to do for these terrible clients. And I thought, I've got to change my life. I've got to get out of here. So in 66 days, we sold 2 houses, moved a business, bought a house, moved 2 golden retrievers, and we just changed everything. And that was where I got down here and I thought, okay, let me start to sort this out. Let me figure out who I am, who I'm really meant to serve. And I came back to the thing I love more than anything else, which is working with project-based designers. And so that's where we sort of reconnected and picked up again.
Thanks for so candidly sharing that. I will say, Eryn is like the queen of the pivot. And I want to touch on something because I have felt this way and I know people listening have felt this way, but I remember so clearly when you bought your house in the woods in Pennsylvania. And that was your I've made it. This is everything I've ever wanted. Check the box moment. So what was it like to realize I thought this is what I wanted and now I'm miserable? Because that's exactly how I felt when I got into my corporate career after college and was like, oh no, this cannot be all there is.
Yeah. It was a slow drain of energy. I realized, so sometimes to get what you need, you compromise, right? So at the time when we got that house, I had wanted to live somewhere else. It was essentially different school district, but we couldn't afford to live in a different school district. And so we ended up where we ended up because we had a puppy who needed a yard, a golden retriever who needed a yard. She could not live in our little apartment. Little did we know, we were on the brink of COVID. I can't even imagine what my life would have been like if I hadn't had the ability to get us into a house. If I had to go through COVID in that apartment, I don't know what I would have done. But getting to the house in the woods, we realized the first weekend we lived there that not only did we live down the street from a gun range, but we also lived on a country road that was a racetrack for, all the Mustangs and sports cars of the world. And we were a cut through between 2 semi-major commerce routes, and all the big trucks would go to the farms to pick up the goods and take them out into the world. And we were a major, major thoroughfare. So it was noisy and couldn't walk my dogs. There were no sidewalks. I couldn't really get outside. And I had this massive, massive property that was so overwhelming for me to figure out how the hell I was going to take care of it. And it was a really slow, gradual, I am miserable here feeling. And I didn't even realize how bad it was until I had one of those ants moments where I was like, oh my God, I don't think I brushed my teeth in 3 days and I'm still wearing the same sweatpants. I'm like, this is not going to work. And it was the moment of, I'm a big fan of when it's time to change, we change fast. I just snap my fingers and do the thing. And I go fast and it all, somehow I just keep landing on my feet. But it was it was months of me being miserable with not even realizing it because I was trying to have a good attitude. I was trying to be like, well, I'm making multi 5 figures a month. Like I should be grateful I have this opportunity and, life is still crazy and I convinced myself that I was fine for as long as I could until I realized that I was not fine. So we changed it.
And I think there's two things. Like there's some shame in like having to admit you are wrong. Oh, this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, that there are so many people who like dream of that life. And so you're like, I should be grateful because there are so many people that want this and don't have it or can't have it or whatever. And to bring our conversation back around, I think situations like that are when it can be so helpful to have a coach, because I remember coming to you in situations like that maybe not so, like I didn't have to sell a house. They weren't so extreme. But I didn't have to worry that you were going to judge me. I didn't have to worry that you were going to be like, okay, go do this, this, and this, and expect me to like follow your plan. Like I could just, for lack of a better word, like word vomit at you and you help me figure it out. And it wasn't Eryn's going to figure this out for me. It really was, you're going to help me figure it out. The best example I can think of that is 2019. So right after I had gone full time in my business, and then I got really busy. And then I hated my life and I was having anxiety every day, and it would take me hours to like psych myself up enough to just sit down and open my email. And I remember you being like, okay, so this is what you worked so hard for. And we are far past time to hire help. Like we got to do something now. And I remember being paralyzed by the idea of doing that. And you kind of swooped in and were like, okay, here's the person you need to hire. Here's what they need to do for you. Like, just go talk to them. And having somebody to lean on during that, I probably would have fired all my clients and asked for my corporate job back otherwise.
Yeah. And that's such a pivot moment too for so many designers, because I don't think that hiring and managing a team, whether it's employees or contractors or a combination of both, is something that me included, it's something you learn. It's a skill you learn how to do in terms of hiring well, but it's also a responsibility you take on when you bring people into your business, because it's saying internally to yourself, oh, I now have people to pay and I can't fall apart now. There's a huge pressure. And I think that was one of the other reasons why I had such a hard transition during that sort of out of my business. I had quite the payroll. I had a lot of people on my team. I learned a lot of lessons from the way that I hired and the way I built my team the first time around. I'm much more thoughtful, and I try to help my clients to be more thoughtful about what are the essential things that you want to bring somebody into your business to help you do, and being intentional about it. But also I've now added that Colby layer that has made me better at hiring. People come to me now for a service I don't market. I literally call it the perfect hire. I'll find your unicorn. And I'm really, really good at it because of all of the ways that I failed to really take into account how I work, how I vibe, what kind of team support I truly need, what my clients need out of my team. All of those questions now come up. And if you weren't somebody who thought about building a team in the first place, it's going to be a really scary moment. And I love that conversation now because it tells me, okay, this person has gone from the idea of I'm a freelancer, the mindset of being a solopreneur, into I'm a business owner. I run a business, or even the mindset of I run a company, or I aspire to run a company. And what does that look like you can't run a company by yourself if the design work is the stuff that has to be done and you're only one designer, right? You can't scale if you're the only person to do the design work past a certain point. And you could be very successful as a solo designer, but you also know your limits. There are only so many hours in a day, and you can only design for so many hours of those hours. So it becomes a real moment of choice. Am I going to grow through team, or am I going to systematize and add tech and add tools to the point that I cannot automate or systematize it anymore, but I really don't want team? And then you're capped. And that's where you stop. You can always raise your prices, but there's thresholds on that as well. And so that it's a really pivotal moment to decide that, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to add a team member. So I was proud of you. I still am.
Yeah. And I am still working with the person that you helped me hire. So say frequently that if she ever leaves, I'm just going to close my business. Okay, let's talk about the comeback. So
Yeah.
moved away from Pennsylvania, stepped back, took a break, did some contract jobs that kind of sucked, but you learned a lot. Then finally we're like, okay, I'm ready to come back. So I remember so clearly getting an email from you when I had just had my daughter, or I was maybe just about to have her. We were living in Colorado. I hadn't heard from you in a while. And you sent me an email and were like, hey, I need you to do a rebrand for me. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like that was like the coolest, like full circle thing for me. And like truly, truly one of the highlights of my career, because I feel like you did so much to get me here. So now to be able to like use all of those skills to then like help you show back up in the way that you want to was just so cool.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I felt like I was obviously the best person for the job because I know you so well and I know what we need to communicate to your people. So talk me through not only the decision to come back to coaching, but also what kind of inspired the rebrand and what that process looked like from your perspective.
Yeah, I was having too many conversations, just casual sort of friendship conversations with former clients and connections who were telling me there was no one in the space for them. There was nobody to help support them. And, you know, there were a couple of people out there doing the thing, but either they were working with early stage, they were working with beginners, they only had courses. It just, there was nobody sitting in the seat of, I am a business coach, I do one-on-one, I do high-level mastermind. And there was still just this gap. My clients were asking me to fill it. Now, maybe it wasn't specifically for them, but for people they know, people they were running into at networking and connection events. I knew this was a huge, I don't even know what the word is here. I had to be willing to do work that comes incredibly easily for me. Working with designers is easy for me. And there's a part of me that has always sought out the challenge, sought out the hard path, or the path that was going to be, you know, creatively rewarding because I was going to figure it out. And at the end of the day, my nervous system, my brain space, my energy levels, my mind, just remembering detail. This has got to be easy for me because marketing is hard enough. Selling is hard enough when you don't know who you're talking to. And I can dial in messaging for designers because I know y'all. I've done it for so long. And because it is the thing that I am truly the best at and the most confident at. And niching down to the place of saying, I even tried saying I just work with creatives. It was still too broad. It was still exhausting. I had to get all the way to the place of, I work with designers. That's who I work with. And you were part of that process and watching me get clearer and more focused and more niche down to the point that now my mastermind isn't even for the copywriters and the brand photographers who I love. It's just for designers. I had to get that clear because there's just not enough energy or time at the end of the day for me to be broad. And if one of those people comes along for an intensive, will I help them? Absolutely. It's my pleasure to do it. But when it comes to the core work that I'm doing in the world, it had to be that. And you understood, you were like the person to come to for this because you know me so well as your coach, but you also know my market because you are it. So not only were you designing to reflect me and who I am and how I show up in the world, but you were doing that in a way that my ideal client was going to resonate with the brand we put together. And that is one of the things that has been the absolute truest for me. The visuals of this brand, I think the messaging and the core values are always going to be that way. But the visuals of this brand are stand the test of time visuals. And our visuals do more than we even realized that they did. One of the things I really stand for is this idea of inclusivity. And there is nothing more inclusive than looking at my logo. And I didn't even see it coming. I think you maybe did. But it was one of those subtle things that you're like, hey, let's just do this. But it has been one of the greatest joys for me to be able to be branded by somebody who knows me as well as you do, and then is able to help me use this brand every single day to try to cut through the noise and build the trust that I need in order to attract the designers that I know I can help.
Yeah. Yeah. And you didn't use these words this time, but in the past when we've talked about it, you've said that this feels like your forever brand, which is something that I have now started incorporating into my marketing because I was so like, that is what I want to do for people.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that like it's done, right? Branding is never done. It's constantly evolving. So
Yes.
You're going to have to help me out on the timeline on this, but I think we finished your rebrand well over a year ago.
Oh, yeah. I think we did it in the fall of 2023, and now we're in the fall of 2025. So I've been living with it for about 2 years.
Yeah. And it has evolved since then. Eryn's a 6-figure brand society member, and so we help her out with like ongoing stuff all the time.
Everything.
And we do office hours and we chat, and we've had a lot of conversations of the specific example I'm going to use is we wanted to incorporate this like copper foil element into your brand as kind of a throwback to some of your previous branding. And it's just something that you really loved. And transparently, it has been trickier than either of us thought to actually use that in practice. So I just like to like call attention to those things that like just because you have your forever brand and you love it and you're like, I never want to change anything, it does still evolve. And as we use it and build upon it, we figure out, okay, we really actually like to lean into these colors more for our primaries than these ones. And like, here's the right way to use this element. I think we've even gone back in and added a few like icons and graphics and sub logos and stuff. So yes, my goal is to build you your forever brand. And that does not mean that you will never have to touch it again. Your brand should continue to evolve along with you. And I think that Eryn's business and her brand is like such a beautiful example of that. So.
I agree. Yeah, I am grateful that we continue to play with it and let it evolve as I evolve, even as I get clearer about who I want to work with. Because I think one of the challenges of working with designers, I had this visual that I created to walk people when they're on a call with me, to really walk them through what the process of being in my mastermind is. Like, what does it look like? What's the path we're going to follow? And I tried to do something very, very creative, and we're still iterating. But the very first sales call I got on and I used the visual, the designer gave me design feedback on my visual. And I was like, yep, that's the occupational hazard here. There's always going to be opinions about how I can make it more clear, stronger. I embrace that. I'm the first person to say, like, I do not know how to actually make things in the design space look as beautiful as y'all do. What I know how to do is help you to build a business around that amazing skill and craft. And
I think there's 2 key points there. So first is knowing your audience, right? Eryn's audience is designers. So they care a lot how her website looks, how her visuals look, what font she uses, all of that stuff. Somebody else whose audience is like, to give a complete polar opposite, like construction workers, they couldn't care less. They're probably not even going to look at your website. That's not to say that you should completely neglect your branding, but different clients value different things. And it's so important to be aware of that because, and I told you this very early in your branding process, if you really want to target just designers, I'm telling you, they will not hire you because they don't like your website. So that's something that I know that you put a ton of effort and money into making sure that that's like nailed down.
And it's constant. I am constantly trying to improve it, iterate, make it better, make it stronger, take words out. There are too many words. There's too much copy. Like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm trying so diligently with each thing I add or each up-level, each program to dial it in. My new mantra with all of my team is this is just always a work in progress. We are looking at this sales page and we are noticing what's happening with it. Where are people, coming? There's nothing precious about this sales page and the design or the copy on this page. We are in constant iteration mode as we get feedback and as we hear and listen to the people that I speak to about what they what they need in order to trust me. It's easy to say, oh, just trust me. It's really important that I show that and that I really model that as much as I can. Am I perfect? No, I'm definitely not. I've got broken links and, I'm constantly fixing things, but I'm constantly fixing things. I'm here. I'm paying attention. I'm trying to listen to what the industry is saying and listen to what's evolving with everything from, funnels to AI and everything in between. Like, what are people saying? And just trying to continue to stay with that.
Yeah. And I think we talked earlier about asking for proof from people before you hire them. And I think something that you sort of touched on a little bit is you're not a designer. Like, you have never ran your own design business. Yeah, but you have worked with hundreds at this point of designers that you have helped do that. And I think the thing for me, like, that wasn't even on my radar whenever I first hired you. If I were to go hire a new business coach now, I think that might matter a little more to me.
Sure.
But for anyone who's considering working with Eryn, and you should, you already know how to be a designer. That's not the problem. The problem is that you need help running a business.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing too, is we're saying it's so important to hire a coach who has run a business before. It doesn't have to be your exact same type of business. Like, I think it's really important to be discerning about, okay, what do I actually need help with? I'm not coming to you to teach me how to be a better designer. And I think that we've talked transparently about that, like with your upcoming launch and stuff, of like, that is a hurdle that you have, because other coaches will say, oh, I've ran a design agency, or I've done this, or I've done that. And that seems like a differentiator. But I think what is more important to look at is not necessarily what business they have run, but what businesses they've helped their clients build. And you have a laundry list of successful design businesses that you have helped get off the ground, get over 6 figures, have all sorts of successes. So let's talk about your new offer. Before I let you just run away telling us about it, one of your best superpowers is that I have, in what am I at, 8 years of business, I have never met anyone that can bring together a room of people the way that you can. This is like a big trip down memory lane. So I quit my corporate job in the end of October 2018. The following week, I went to Florida for a big business conference Eryn was putting on. And I was like, this is nuts, but okay, I guess we're doing it. And then I got home, and then like a week later, I got married. It was a wild time in my life. I also had like a small mental breakdown after all of that was over. But I remember being like terrified to go somewhere I had never been by myself. I don't know anybody else. And I think I had talked to like 1 or 2 people like on Instagram at that point, and I knew you. And I was like, well, Erin's not going to be hanging out with me. She's running this conference. And it was terrifying. And somehow I felt like so comfortable and so welcome. Then on the heels of that, you put together our first like group coaching program that I was part of. And I was just telling you this on a call the other day. I still talk to all but like maybe 1 or 2 of those women on probably a monthly basis. And I think that is such a testament to how great you are at people, really. And that's a big component of this new program that you're starting, which is going to start in January, right?
Yes, we're going to start in January. I mean, really, we start right away, which is one of the things that makes it a little bit different, a little bit fun. You know how sometimes onboarding is fill out this form and give me the information and hello, you're onboarded. Onboarding inside of Creative Autonomy is a whole lot more than that. We start, I realize that AI is a thing and we should embrace it. And so I have built onboarding GPTs that are specifically designed for us to work asynchronously to get me up to speed on your business, because you're busy, you're designing for clients, you're doing the work, you don't have time to get on hours and hours of calls so that I can learn your business. But if you can work for 20 minutes on an Offers GPT and share with me your offer suite, your offer stack, I'm then able to go back and forth and start to coach you and work with you on what does this need to evolve into? Where do we want to refine some things? It gives us a starting place. So we're going to do onboarding in offers, sales, marketing, and CEO life. How do you show up as a business owner? Those 4 things are going to culminate over. So let's say, today's mid-October, right? So if you join today, you could start on that right away. You could work on it at your own pace throughout the busy holiday season when time fluctuates, how much you have time available to do things in your business. It gives you space and time to learn, to share with me and to me learn your business, right? So this is where we begin. You actually have a business coach in this program who will understand your offers and your sales process and have like actual records that I can look back to if we're having a conversation and remind me of what you're doing in your business. So that's the first piece. Then it's going to culminate in the second piece, which is so exciting for me. In the month of February, so February has 28 days this year, we are going to do a group 28-day challenge. And that challenge is going to be unique for you, for your business, based on everything you told me in onboarding, everything you told me in those GPTs that we work through together. I am going to build you a micro action 28-day challenge. It's totally unique to you. But everybody in the group is going to be doing their own challenge, and you're going to be working towards your micro goals every day together as a group, which is what's going to help you start to get to know each other, start to build some trust, camaraderie. What do you have in common? And that process will also come with office hour support every week. So you're getting feedback as you're working through these micro activities you're going to do in your business. Some of them might be for you a 5-minute thing on a Tuesday because you're busy, right? So I want to give you micro things you can do because you're going to start to build momentum and you're going to start to meet your peers and connect and build that connection that you talked about. And then when we hit March 1st, we're going to be in our container that is truly our masterminded coaching container for the rest of the year, where you can come to calls and get hot seat support from me. I'll get my eyes on your business. We'll dig in and we will ultimately solve whatever challenges or stuck spots you have. There's true mastermind calls where you'll share experiences with one another. Certainly office hours, and really anything else I see that I need to add in order to make this a great experience. I have call recordings in private podcast format, so you can go on the, listen on the go if you miss a call or have something you want to dive into, and a private portal where I give audio training feedback in micro bursts. So like 3-minute training on something specific that somebody's asked about. Lots of different learning style modalities and lots of different ways for you to learn on the go and to learn in your own time as it fits into your schedule.
Love that. People are just listening. I can't see you, but I love how lit up you are talking about this. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. I'm really jazzed. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be different than anything anybody else is doing. And I think it'll let us bring that group together that you spoke about. And it's hand curated. You got to apply. I got to say yes. I got to feel like you're really going to be a fit for the room. And that matters to me.
Yeah. And I think I've gotten a really cool behind the scenes look at you building this program as I've been helping you with some things. And I really think that, yes, Eryn is going to introduce you to your lifelong business besties. And that really is invaluable. But I think the other thing that makes you so different is that when you say it's customized to you, it truly, truly is. I think some of us have a little hesitation about a group anything because they're I don't want to be lumped in with everybody. I don't want you to just prescribe me your framework. And I just want to be very clear with people that I can tell you from experience that is not at all what this is.
And it actually makes it harder to sell because that's not what it is, right? If you are somebody who wants the A, B, C, D, here's how it works, here's what you get, very straightforward. I can't give you that from the standpoint of I don't know your business yet. I don't know exactly what B is going to be. I haven't heard A yet, right? This is very much built on who you are and what you bring to the table to start with. I'm not going to tell you what your answer is before I've even talked with you.
Yeah. So we talked a couple times already about asking people to share results with us before we hire them. Can you tell me? I am a great picture of what Eryn can do for you, but can you tell us maybe your top 2 success stories of clients that you are just so proud of?
Yeah, I have one in particular that is sort of a start to, oh my God, amazing. So my former client, Robin, came to me when she had just quit a dog walking business. So she had that company for, I think it was 12 or 13 years with her then ex-husband. She wanted to be a designer because she wanted, and she had never built websites before. She wanted to have a business she could do at the beach. That was what she's like, I want to have a web design business that I can run from the beach. And I went, all right, let's do this thing. So we started, and this was when she was sort of in a DIY style coaching program. So there was curriculum I had built. She would watch the trainings and the modules and do the worksheets. And then she could come every week to office hours and I would answer her questions. And she never missed an office hour. And we went from she didn't have any clients to $125,000 in her second year with being booked out 5 months in advance, pretty much all of the time. And I've kept in great touch with her and she continues to either be at that 125, which for her as a true solopreneur, she does not have any team members and doesn't want them. She got to 125 on her own and she maintains it year after year after year. Lately, she started to add a few additional layers of services that have just catapulted her income. And she still is just her. Still working in balance with the number of hours she wants to work so she can go to the beach. And she's just somebody who went from, I don't even know how to build a website to I'm running a 6-figure design business. So I love her story. I love staying connected to her and continuing to see how she's evolved. So that's been a fun one. Another one that I think a lot about is a gal who came to me and said, I'm charging $6,000 for this website. And I looked at what everything that was included, everything that was being done for the clients and how unbelievably amazing it was. And we went from, I think we did a stair-step increase on price. So we went from 6 to 8,500, then to 10, and then to like maybe 12. And I think we landed at $14,000. And we created a true experience with that offer. And the offer became the backbone of a multi-six-figure agency that she ran and had team members to do that. And then went on, and so this is where there's actually credibility there, went on to coach other designers after having closed her agency, but she had done it successfully. So I feel like that's a pretty amazing success. Because it shows that you don't just go from charge $6,000 for a website to I had $14,000. That'll fry your nervous system real quick. So we got to think about how do we add the incremental pieces that you need to feel confident and comfortable taking that kind of leap with something. And it can be incremental, but it can grow into something unbelievable.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree. I know both Robin and the other person you're talking about, and I can tell you that like they are both still thriving. Even years after working together. And I, like you said earlier, probably daily have Eryn's voice in my ear. We should have talked about this and we're kind of running out of time. But knowing when it's time to be done working with the coach, I remember when we stopped working together, I have like so many feelings whenever we talk about renewing because I was like, I love you and I love working together, but like, I think you're done with me. I think I know everything I need to know. Whenever I sit down and I'm like, okay, here's a thing I'm going through. I need to ask Eryn. I already know what you're going to say. And I think that I have a therapist client who's very big on you should not be in therapy forever. You should not also be working with a coach forever. Back to the sleazy coach thing, some of them will have you feeling like you can't survive without them. And I think that that is something very unique about you is that you are training your people to not need you anymore. And that is such a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I pride myself on. And how long your journey takes to the point where you feel that sense of complete confidence and independence. And nobody feels it every day, but certainly that journey for you is going to be unique to you. I have had clients that have done an intensive with me, 90 minutes, they've gotten everything they've needed and they go off into the sunset and I never hear from them again. And that's okay. And I've also had people who've worked with me for 4 years and then they've gone from 0 to multi-six figures and that journey. But when the journey is done, I will be the first person to tell you the journey is done because I will love you and I will be like, I don't know what else to do to help you based on what you're sharing with me at this point in your journey. Maybe you need to go off and do some things yourself, or maybe you actually need somebody different because the challenge you're experiencing is not my sweet spot of challenge, and let's find you the right person. I will keep the relationship with you forever, but I will not keep you as a client forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I remember I was so nervous to be like, I think I'm good. And you were just so happy for me. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah. So I want to leave people with 2 of my favorite Eryn-isms, and then I want you to add a 3rd one.
Okay.
So my first one, and this is the one that I find myself like repeating in my head less often now that I think I've really internalized it, but I had to do it a lot at the beginning, is when people pay, they pay attention.
Yes.
Especially when I was very new. I was like, if I just do this for really cheap or free or whatever, then like exposure and visibility and they'll tell their friends about me. That's not real. Probably they'll ghost you is what will happen. So that's my first favorite one. My second favorite one, I talked about this on a podcast. By the time this publishes, it'll be a few weeks ago, but I literally just mentioned this, that when you are feeling like you have no idea what you're doing and things are not going to work out, to look for past evidence of things working out. I felt a lot of that, especially when we first started working together, but then with every big transition I've had, whether it's going full-time in my business, moving, having kids, all kinds of things. And I kind of instinctively do it now. And then I think like, okay, well, I felt this way this time and look how well it worked out. And I think that that is such a like powerful mindset tool that is really one of my favorite things that I've learned from you. So give us a 3rd one for us to take away.
Wow. Trying to think what I've been saying a lot lately or what I've been coming back to. I think that the world continues to change. The world continues to, in some ways, get better, in some ways get worse. It evolves. But I think the thing that will always, always stand the test of time is the foundations of people buy from people. You are selling a website to a person, and that person is going to have needs and challenges and wants and desires. And the goal of you selling those services to them is not just to produce a website, it's to actually help them transform through all of the challenges that they experience in the course of doing business. And people buy from people. And that's not going to stop being true. Whenever you're wondering about which should I invest in, investing in relationships is never a bad investment. I spend a lot of time on people. And you even mentioned, like, I bring great people together. It's because I spend a lot of time on people. But that is a true thing that I think will stand the test of time. So remembering that the problems you solve, the solutions you provide, you're giving those problems solves and those solutions to people. And that is going to steer you in the right way.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing so openly with us about all the ups and downs.
You're welcome.
If there are any designers listening that are looking for some support in their business, I am not exaggerating when I say that working with Eryn truly, truly changed the entire rest of my life. So much so that my husband is even on board with business coaching now. So that's a pretty big 5-star.
Yeah. I love that part.
And if you're listening to this, like, after Eryn's group program has already started, still reach out to her. Like, the calendar doesn't really matter.
No, it really doesn't. Nobody cares about January 1st except for Hallmark and the IRS.
Nope, exactly. So tell us where we can connect with you.
Yeah, well, you can come on over to my website. I'm at erynmorgan.com, and I'm sure that'll be linked somewhere fun, but my name is spelled Eryn Morgan. So that's a great place to start the journey. There's really good resources that you can find there. And I am present on Instagram. I know y'all love it there. I get it, but I love LinkedIn. So that is a place where you will get the quickest real response, probably in form of a voice note from me. And I can't wait to chat with everybody.
Yeah. Yep. If you go to Eryn's Instagram, you'll see a beautiful 9 grid that we designed that looks great. But you might not get a very timely response. So LinkedIn is the way to go.
We are trying to be better about it. And we may even start doing additional fun content on Instagram. But for now, LinkedIn definitely is where I hang.
All right. Well, thanks for being here and we'll chat soon.
Yay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the 6-Figure Brand Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to rate the show and leave a review on whatever app you're listening on. And as a thank you, I'll send you coffee on me. Yes, I'm serious. As a smaller show for now, you taking the time to do this makes a huge impact on how we can reach more people and how I can continue to create this content for free. When you take a screenshot of your review, follow and tag me on Instagram at @SpectandCo. I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. As always, don't forget to check out the show notes for any links or resources I mentioned during the episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week.